Welcome to the Green Table Talk, where we will have open and honest discussion about transplant. I'm your host, Janine Johnson. Do you know how long your mom was living with liver failure prior to her telling the family?
Process it's so foreign, right? Like, how does one get a kidney? It was so surreal.
When I was going through my kidney failure, everybody came out. Everybody had an opinion. Everybody was a doctor. And so I had a whole bunch of suggestions. Do this fast, do that fast. You gotta cleanse, you gotta juice. So my question to you is any of this real? Hello, and welcome to the Green Table Talk, where we will have open and honest discussion about transplant. I am your host, Janine Johnson, and today we have two amazing sisters. We have Fadia Jerome-Smith, and we have Winnie Jerome. Ladies, thank you for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. So give us a little background before we start on your amazing transplant journey. Give us a little background about yourself. Fadia, tell me about you. Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's a day in the life of Fadia?
Oh, okay. I am what do you call it? Mind manipulator of children. I'm a teacher, elementary school teacher in Durham region, and I've been teaching for 13 years now. Very passionate about youth and education and just mental health, well-being of our young people. I think I'm a professional dancer. I am a dog lover. I'm a foodie. I'm a person of faith. And I love people. That's my number one thing. When people see me, they're like, oh, okay, she's an extrovert person.
Yes.
That's me in a nutshell.
Beautiful. And I agree, you definitely are an extrovert. And we could also have another episode where you could come on and dance and we could all decide if you are a dancer.
I'm going to practice.
Excellent. And thank you for being a teacher. I know it's not easy, especially during today's day and age and everything that's going on. So thank you very much for doing that and your patience as well. Yeah. Winnie, give me a little bit of background about yourself.
So I am in the same field as my sister. I'm in early childhood education. So I work with the younger ones. Yes. I've been doing that for about 10 years now. A big kid at heart, like Fadia said, extrovert. Big kid at heart, loves to be around kids because they tell the truth all the time. They don't lie. And I have a almost 7-year-old son who's my little miracle baby, which I'm sure we'll get into when we get into our story. But I love to cook. I love to paint. I love to read. And I am no professional dancer by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, it's okay. We will have another episode regarding cooking. So we'll bring you back on for that episode. So it's okay.
There we go.
So, Winnie, tell me, are you the older sister or younger sister?
I am the younger sister.
You are the younger sister. Okay.
That's excellent.
Right. Fadia, so you're the older sister. Let me know, where were you when you found out about your kidney issues?
I first understood I had kidney issues when I knew I had something happening with my kidneys when I was in university. Okay. So when I was in school and in teachers college, I wasn't feeling well. My back was hurting me. And I thought that I just pulled a muscle and the muscle turned into feeling paralyzed on one side. I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going. And quickly call call 911, rush to the hospital and find out that, oh, my kidneys are really small and you have hypertension. What's going on? And I had no answers for the doctors because I didn't know myself. And it was really after a couple of years later, as my kidneys began to fail, essentially, that's when I really knew, okay, there's something happening that is serious that would require me to be on a strict regimen, whether it be diet, whether it be medication, whether it be transplant, whether it be dialysis. So that was kind of, I want to say around 2010, 2011, that's when the discussion became very serious. From 2007, 2010, I didn't really have a real understanding what was happening, but it's after our first pregnancy in 2010 that I had a nephrologist that said, hey, something is up and you need to, I'm going to watch you very closely to make sure that, that you're on the right path.
Okay. Now, prior to this, did you know anything about kidney disease, kidney failure, like any knowledge whatsoever?
I thought my kidneys were in the front. I thought they were part of the stomach area. And I think is watching movies that I thought, oh, okay, maybe kidneys are not in the front, they're kind of on the side, because, like when they, in action movies, they always kind of punch on the side, because that's what I'm like, oh, okay, kidneys are not in the front, they're in the back. So that's literally the extent of my knowledge to kidney disease, kidney failure, kidney anything related. Very limited information.
Now, when you found out, what was your first reaction? Did you think, you know what? Because for me personally, I was in denial when I first found out. I said, you know what? My kidneys are going to be fine. I'll just, eat healthier, exercise more, whatever, and it'll be fine. What was your reaction?
My initial reaction was, I had a nephrologist that was very pushy. So I, as much as I tried to just kind of follow what she was saying, I felt fine. The most that I felt was, okay, I'm tired, but I'm fine most of the time, right? So I wasn't really, alarmed by what she was telling me. I think is when we kept doing the GFR testing to find out, like my kidney filtration rate, and then it kept going down, it kept getting lower. I'm like, oh, I really need to be serious about this. But at first I was just like, okay, I'll just kind of listen to my doctor, but I feel fine, I'm just tired. I just need to sleep more. And
when did you decide to bring it to your family? Like, how did you have that conversation with your family, letting them know what was going on and the severity of your kidney failure?
So in 2010, we were pregnant and the pregnancy was not successful. So I think after that difficult chapter, and having that nephrologist, like I said, who was very keen on seeing me very regularly, that's when I just kind of told them, well, this is what's happening with me. Still not fully understanding what I had to explain to them and how I had to present it to my family. But it was very much so like, okay, well, something is wrong with my kidneys, not too sure what, and just help me, with my diet, for example, or help me with, supporting me with my family so that I'm not always tired.
I'm sorry to hear about your situation with the baby, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, Winnie, when you heard that your sister was having kidney issues, at that point, what was going through your mind? Like, I know she just said that, she was just basically asking for help, with her diet and, monitoring in that sense. But were you thinking something else? Were you thinking, what, I got to do more? What was your mind frame like?
Well, so when my sister lost the first pregnancy there, I was actually living out of town. So when I came and we kind of had that general discussion about what was happening with her body, it was before I had my son, and my family was more so thinking, oh, like whatever happens, we'll figure it out, like we'll kind of pull our heads together. But I remember very clearly having that meeting with her nephrologist and her saying that the possibility of a transplant was there. And I was like, okay, well, cool. Where do I sign? Just let me know. And everybody's like, no, like you haven't had a child yet. You don't want to do that. And, like, what if? And I just, in my head there, I just couldn't wait for the what if. I figured, what, if it needs to happen, like I'll do it. thankfully, like with medication and seeing her nephrologist, she was kind of maintaining, which gave me time to have my son.
Beautiful.
But even that kind of came with its own complications because he was born premature. So that kind of put me at risk too, in a sense where, again, people were worried, well, okay, now you have a young child. Are you sure that this is what you want to do? But it was never really a question in my mind whether or not this was the right thing to do. I said, I have it. She's my sister. She needs it.
Yes.
Let's just do this. Yeah.
Didn't even think twice.
No, I really didn't. And it's funny because when you asked me when we were just chatting earlier and you were mentioning this question, I said it's weird how this is always the question that comes back. Because really and truly, I don't have a real answer for it. I just knew that my sister was sick. She had a young child at the time. And I said, for the sake of my nephew, for the sake of my sister, for the sake of her husband, like let's just get it done.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Because although you were just willing, there are some families, I've heard stories where, some family members are like, I really would like to, but I can't. What if, my cousin's, son needs a transplant, or what if it reduces my life expectancy? There's a lot of what ifs and lack of knowledge in that area, right? So,
and the beautiful thing is that we did have that. We had extended, we had extended family. We had our church family who also offered a lot of the youth students of hers, came forward and said, hey, I want to help. How do I help? How do I get tested to see if I'm a match? So we did have that. It just so happened that I was literally right there behind her being like, okay, let's go. Because, I don't want you to have to wait any longer.
Yes.
So.
Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. So tell me about the process. So you decided that you want to become a donor. So was it just, you went out, fill out some forms, and all of a sudden, they did some testing and bam, that's it? You're a match? Or were there other people that tried to be a donor? I'll let either one tell me this.
I don't remember if anybody else tried, but I'll let Fadia maybe answer a little bit of that. I can answer on my end of things in terms of like the process, but Fadia, do you remember anybody else joining? Because I know mom and dad, but
I remember. What do I remember? Everything is such a blur, right? But I remember that we had the discussion. You said you wanted to give me your kidney. Mom and dad were like, no. And then I know who ended up getting tested were you, Will, and my husband, and my mom was still considering.
Okay.
So out of the three individuals, Winnie was the best fit. When they did the physical, I think you had to do a physical or something like that, and she was the better fit for me.
Okay. So, sorry, go ahead, Winnie.
No, I was just saying now to that aspect of things in terms of the testing, there was 100 billion pages of forms to fill out. And like I said, a lot of that information was a little bit overwhelming because I had just had my son. And so asking for my blood type and, having to fill jugs and jugs of urine, to see how my kidneys were filtering and the constant monitoring. I think what took me aback the most was probably the psychological evaluation that they put you through, and the questions that are being asked, such as, whether or not I'm being bribed or blackmailed, blackmailed or, put in a position where I'm being forced to do this. And I said, can you guys stop asking me this? Like, nobody's forcing me to do this. My sister is sick, was just, so I was like, we just, they have to make sure. And I understand why, but at the time it was more so of like, why does this have to be so complicated? What was awesome is that we had a gentleman, I don't quite remember what his role was, but his name was Michael, who kind of helped us helped me more so kind of break down all of those meetings and all of those tests and what they meant and what they were for and what they were actually looking at. So in terms of kind of like a liaison between myself and the doctors, yeah, it was helpful to have somebody who knew what was happening.
Excellent. That is good. It's always good to have a good support system, whether it's inside the family or outside of family. It's always good.
Yeah.
So tell me the next steps. So now you go ahead, you go through all these tests and everything looks great. What next?
What's next is that they call us and they tell us, so you guys are a match.
Beautiful.
But your sister has too many antibodies, which would make her reject your kidney.
Oh my goodness.
So I said, well, do it again. Well, do it again.
Yeah, right.
Do it again. And again, that same gentleman, his name is Michael. He kind of just quickly approached me. He said, hey, let's not waste any more time. There is a paired exchange program that is available in Canada. It happens every 3 months, I think like every quarter or something like that, where they pair people from across the country who may be a better fit, who may be a better match, to be able to get through the transplant process a little bit quicker. So again, I just, sign me up. All right, let's go. What we're doing. What are we doing? We went through, I think 2 cycles, Fadia?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we went through 2 cycles. And
sorry, could you explain the cycles? What does that mean?
So the cycle, so after, I guess every 3 months, they kind of put you in a pool. They pull your blood tests, and then they put you in a pool to see who matches, but it only happens every 3 to 4 months. And so you kind of have to wait for that whole process to happen. And for the cycle to kind of renew in order to know whether or not you've found a match.
Gotcha.
And so it was late February 2016, I was...
Hold on 1 second before you finish that. I want to find out from you, Fadia. How did you feel when you found out that you would be able to accept your sister's kidney? Because you got all this good news and...
Yeah, well, initially, because the process is so foreign, right? Like, how does one get a kidney? It was so surreal.
On Kijiji.
That, right? I was very much like, okay, this is what we're doing, but is this real life? Like, I'm pinching myself to like, is this really happening? Do I need a kidney. This is what I need. I need a transplant. This is what I need. And within the time where we're doing all these tests, my nephrologist calls me, is like, you have to start dialysis now. What's happening? And again, the only thing that I'm feeling is tiredness, right? It's just chronic fatigue. So things that I didn't realize is that my skin changed. I was really dark. My lips turned really black. My eyes were really yellow, and just my what's the word, tenure, my composure, I guess. I just looked sick. I didn't feel like I looked sick, but Winnie tells me all the time, like, yeah, you look sick, right?
What about your appetite? Did your appetite change? Did you have any?
I had restrictions, a lot of restrictions. So my appetite was really low, but because I'm a teacher, I'm always talking, I'm always drinking water, right? So even that I had to limit. So that was so weird. It was such a like by 10 o'clock, I'm parched, right? And okay, well, you have to watch how much water you're drinking that day because later on you have dialysis. What? Right? Yeah. So there was a lot of just I'm not sure, am I really here? Is this really happening to me? Why me? Right? A lot of those type of questions. But because I'm I'm on my feet and I'm just go, I just go from one thing to the next. So when we start this process of, okay, well, Winnie she could be a match, but you have too many antibodies. It's like, okay, here again, my body's failing me, is betraying me, right? It's not working for me. And Michael again suggested, so, well, you could take medication, other medication to prevent that from happening, but there will be like really harsh medications. And that's when I'm like, okay, well, then it's better to find someone who's a better match, right?
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I really took the time to fully process what was happening because I was still trying to process dialysis, right? So trying to process that, and now I have to process transplant. It was like, okay, Winnie's not a match, so we need to find strangers. So that was also an interesting conversation with mom and dad. We have to find strangers to give to me. So, we have to find strangers to swap kidneys with. Essentially, that's what it is, right?
Tell me about the conversation. Tell me about that conversation with your parents when you had to, discuss taking in an organ from a complete stranger.
Yeah.
What was
How
that
was
like?
the conversation?
Yeah.
It's mostly my mom who's very vocal, who was very vocal about it. And she's like, no. Again, a lot of it was no. She even told me at one point, she's like, Fadia, we can go on the black market. And I'm saying,
oh my gosh.
What? This is not a movie. We're not, and I know, all jokes aside, I know that's like a legitimate option for a lot of people. But also a very scary option, right? So I had to like, Mom, no, there's other ways of doing this. Let's look at the more viable options.
Yes.
So there was a lot of just trying to like break down myths and just kind of like, that's not really what happens, or okay, well, let me show you, let me explain it to you, let's watch a video, there's a lot of education at home that needed to happen. My dad was more of I don't like the hospital, so just tell me when you're okay, like tell me when you feel better, because I can't.
That sounds just like my father.
Yeah. He couldn't deal with like just me being sick, and he was very sad. That's really what it was. He was just really sad and
worried and worried.
Very worried.
Very worried.
Couldn't do anything about it, and his hands are tied, so he's like, I'm just gonna put myself over there and not say too much. But my mom had a lot to say.
I think a lot of it too has to do with the fact that it's strangers, right? Now you've extended this thing that's supposed to be, like a family. Like people don't like to talk when people are sick and whatever. Yeah. So it's a family issue now that we're crossing over and bringing strangers in. So yeah, it would be all good and dandy that Fadia would get, what she needs, but then at the cost of me having to give to a stranger, somebody that we don't know, somebody that, so it was like Fadia said, a lot of education and kind of reinforcing the fact that, like this is beneficial for everybody, and that, it's safe, and it's, like it's the best option that we have at this point. So yes, my mother is a lovely lady.
She really is.
Very passionate.
She just cares. That's all.
Yes, she's very passionate about her children and our safety and our health, obviously.
So tell me, it's surgery day. What day was it that you had your transplant?
So to backtrack just a little bit, when I found out that I had my date, Fadia didn't have hers yet. So we were a little bit worried already just from the get-go. But not only that, I had to then travel to Calgary to do the operation. So that's where, again, like the church family kind of gets in there, and we get funds from the church. I go, and come surgery day, my husband at the time, extremely curious, extremely vocal as well. So come surgery day, I'm just game face, like, let's do this. I'm ready. I just want to get in there, do this, and go. Because I want to go home to my 9-month-old at this point, right? But he asks all the questions, you know, and it's always good to have somebody in your corner like that who's willing to ask all of the questions. Well, will she have any restrictions afterwards? What can she eat? What can she do? What can she not do? Medication. What can she have in terms of medication and things like that? Were very pertinent questions.
A lot's going through your
Exactly.
mind. Wow. So you're not thinking
yes.
of all
no,
those
I'm not thinking about those things at all. You know, all I wanted, like I said, was to get in there, do it, go home to my baby. So for me, it was just very much, I was just in the zone. Thank goodness, like I said, for my husband, who was there to kind of be my brain. So
amazing.
Like when Fadia says that it's a blur, it was just a blur.
So you mentioned the church assisted. What did the church do? But is this on both sides, both with you, Fadia, and Winnie, or was it just on Winnie's end?
It was more so on my end because, like I said, I had to travel out of the province, and I was a new mom. I was at home. I was not working. We had just moved back to Toronto from Ottawa, and so I didn't have the funds. And so to buy a plane ticket for 2 adults round trip to Calgary is not it's not cheap. So I had originally just kind of asked people for loans here and there, but the church called and said, listen, we're just going to pay your ticket. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So long as you come back, you know, in one piece type of thing.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Definitely took a worry off of our shoulders because getting to the transplant is one thing, but how am I going to get there is another.
Exactly. Wow. And Fadia, how did the church, or how did religion play a part in your transplant journey?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a person of faith, and everything kind of, you know, everything that I do just is falls on that, right? I don't move without my faith, right? Without my God. So from the beginning, it was like, okay, God, I'm not too sure what is happening, but you have to lead me through this difficult time, right? And at the time I was working at a faith-based school, right? At a Christian school. And again, so not only did I have my church support, but I also had my school support that rallied around me and supported me through the difficult times. The days that I could not teach because I was too tired, I had colleagues that would come into my classrooms and just kind of take over and make sure that the kids didn't do anything wild. So I definitely heavily relied on my community of faith to carry me through the difficult times, because they were, you know, just like I said, because everything happens fairly fast, but you still feel like you're moving in slow motion in it. It's only moving fast in hindsight, right? Now you're looking back like, oh wow, so much happened. But when you're in it, Jennen, you know, right? There are days you're like, what is this? Right? Can I have another burden? Can I choose something else?
Yes.
Can you take my leg instead? Like the rationale that goes on is like you there's no focus, you're not sure. What is the meaning of life? You're asking all these like deep questions. You know, like one day I had to sit with a dietitian and she's like, well, you can't eat like what you typically would eat as a Caribbean woman. You can't eat those things.
Nope, not at all.
So no plantain, no avocado. Fadia was a mess.
I was like, what are you saying to me?
Yep.
So it, like all these little things, right? It's like, okay, God, I can't eat beans. I can't have, you know, spinach. I can't have, God, you have to like give me sustenance because I can't rely on this diet.
So ladies, tell me now, surgery day, you've done the transplant, you're out. Tell me, how are you feeling? What's going through your mind? I know the first thing that happened with me, everybody was telling me, even though I'm lying in the bed, I was all drugged up. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's glowing. Look at her face. She's glowing. So tell me, what was your experience after transplant? You've got a new lease on life now, Fadia. What's going through your mind? What's happening?
I was so happy that I was producing so much urine. I was so happy. I was not.
You've never been that happy to pee, right?
Never
That's
happy.
exactly what it is. Yes,
Right?
I get you.
I remember waking up and, like right after the morning after surgery, and just feeling like I could run a marathon right now.
Yes.
Yes, I have tubes coming out of everywhere, but I could run, I could jump, I could dance.
You feel different.
I felt immediately different.
Yes.
Right? And then you try to get up, you're like, oh, scar. Oh, okay, yeah, let me just go lay down. But I was just so happy. And the nurses were like, you just take it easy. I'm like, yeah, I'm taking it easy. And I'm like, trying to walk and trying to do all the things, just because I was so excited and so happy and just thankful for life and grateful for life. Just like you said, another lease on life, right? So
Of course, definitely. And Winnie, how did you feel after surgery? You've essentially saved your sister's life.
Yeah, I'm so as much as I am an extrovert, I also like to kind of stay behind closed doors. Like I'm the person in the back who's like running with her head cut off to make things happen in the front. And so when the nurses kind of came to me and were like, "Oh, you're a hero, you're a hero," I was like, "Okay, can we not do this, please?" But definitely, I think the first thing I did was I called Fadia after she had her transplant done, and immediately, like you said, she was glowing. The white of her eyes were white. Her skin had cleared, her lips were starting to clear as well. And so just being able to see my sister in that state from how she had been over the last few months, I was at peace with my decision. I mean, I always was, but that was kind of like the confirmation once again that I did the right thing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We have a tendency of thinking about becoming a donor after the fact, but being a living donor is just as important. It's just as important to definitely help people out, becoming a living donor. Winnie, I know you don't like the praises, but what you've done was amazing. You've essentially saved your sister's life. Fadia, you look amazing. I am so happy for the both of you. You guys are amazing. And I thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story with us. And I'd love to have you come back on again sometime soon.
For sure.
Excellent. And once again, thank you once again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ladies and our guests and everyone paying attention and watching our show, thank you for joining. And don't forget, your only limit is your mind. You can do anything that you want to. Okay? Thank you for joining. We'll see you next time on the Green Table Talk. Take care.